Another night shoot with the Wolfgang. There's the Wolfgang. What's up, Wolfgang? But we can't even, we gotta introduce the incomparable Corey. He over there work. He don't even want to look at me. He's just working too hard. Oh, there he be. About to fly the bird. We're out here doing it. There she is. They're lighting an entire mountain for us. See that? They're literally lighting the whole mountain for our drone shot. So, it should be fun, bro. Oh, there it is. Light them out. Light them out. What's up, droners? B here. And yes, I'm back and I'm excited. And you guys can blame Kelly from Ready Set Drone and Ken Heron and his Thursday night, all the fun things he does on their YouTube channels for getting me back, because they have been relentless in making me come back. I've wanted to come back, but I've been acting like I'm too busy. I'm not, I'm back. We're gonna be posting at least a video a week again with you guys. So I'm happy to be back. And today we're gonna talk about some interesting things. We're actually gonna talk about a story. The story is pretty much a night shoot that I had gotten recently. My company was contacted, Transit Pictures, was contacted to do a night shoot, and they wanted us to do it over 2 nights. Now, the first thing is when somebody contacts you to do a night shoot, like right from the get, this is where you have to start setting expectations. First expectation is you should already know night shoots take a lot more work than day shoots. Just because of the scouts, the amount of paperwork, and also it should cost more because you have to put more time into it. So immediately I got the team together. It was me, this guy named Corey, and this guy named Wolfgang, who is one of my favorite flying people ever. Airwolf is what his YouTube name is. I fly with him a lot. We came together and we were like, okay, we can do this. We set the price. You guys can check out my pricing video to see the beginnings of how to set that price. And we set the price. We said, this will work. We'll do it. We'll do it for these 2 nights. But because it's a night shoot, we need to go and scout the locations. And they were like, that's fine. We're doing scouts anyway. We want to scout it. It's this movie that's going to be like a horror movie. Everything's a night. We're going to go shoot in this park. We want you to come check out this park with us. And there's another location too that we need you to scout separately. It's super important to make sure that you scout before a night shoot, because during the day, you can just see a lot more. You can see where the wires are, you can see where the trees are. At night, you might not be able to see that. If you're flying on a not full moon night, or if it's cloudy or whatever, it's pitch black. You're not gonna be able to see all these things that the drone also will not be able to detect. We're flying an Inspire 2. Obviously that has full sensors all around it, so that normally during the day, it can actually stop itself from hitting things if you have the sensors activated. But at night, it doesn't matter, because these sensors are focused on light. So they're not gonna just be able to detect everything around it like it normally can. It won't work even nearly as good as it normally does. So when you're gonna do a shoot at night, or even if you're just gonna fly at night for fun, anything like that, well, I shouldn't say for fun. If you have your Part 107 and you have a night waiver, you may fly at night. If you do not have that, then you do not get to fly at night at all. But all that to say, super safe. Make sure that you are checking your surroundings before you fly during the day for a night shoot. I always prefer to do it days before, and then normally that same day I come earlier in the day and check out the location one last time before it gets dark. So we got to go on the scout. We went out to this park with the entire crew. We were there with the director, we were there with the producer, and we were there with like the production manager, and like it was a big group of people. So it was me and then one other, me and Wolfgang were there. And what we did is we went and walked around and said, what are your expectations? What is it that you want us to shoot, and how do you want us to get it? What are you imagining, and how can we help you get it there? And he's like, okay, cool. I want you to fly up, out and away, and capture this one thing here. We're like, no, that's not gonna work, because there's a tree right there. How am I gonna do an up and away shot into that tree at night? So how about we do this? And you work with them and you try to figure out how can you get them the shot that you want. On scouts, I always recommend that you bring a small drone with you to be able to give examples to the director or to the producer that you're with. So I had my Mavic Air with me. What I'm able to do is fly the Mavic Air into the locations and be able to give him framing and say, look, this is the widest shot we're gonna be able to give you. This is with the wide lens, but if I put the 25 on the, on the X7 or the X5, then I'll be able to do something different when I put the Inspire 2 up. But the flight path looks like this. This is where we're gonna go. This is how we're gonna fly. Here's what it's gonna look like. Really helpful, and everybody always appreciates that, because you can take pictures of all the different frames that can give you the space and say, this is what we're gonna go for. And it even helps your team out. So when you get there the day of, they already knew everything, and we can pull out the pictures and say, okay, here's the frames that they said they wanted, and we can go ahead and get that for you. Scouting is important no matter what shoot you're doing, but for a night shoot, it's crucial. You have to have it, you have to be able to do it. This is a safety thing, and one thing as a professional drone pilot, you never compromise safety. So scouting is really important. Now, back to the pricing, this obviously, since this is necessary, this takes more time. And you need to be aware of your time when it comes to the pricing. So you know that when somebody approaches you with a night shoot, you're gonna charge them more. You're gonna charge them for all the paperwork you did for that night waiver. You're gonna charge them for the time you have to go and do these scouts. You're gonna charge them for the extra crew member that you may have because of what kind of night shoot it is. So you just have to make sure you're aware of all the possibilities and things that you're going to have to pay for and the time you have to put in so that you can be ready on the front end with the negotiations with the client. One other piece of advice I have is to make sure you talk to the director of photography. And the reason you really want to have a good conversation about a night shoot with the director of photography is about what you want your image to look like. We were flying an Inspire 2 with an X5S. You could be flying an X7. You could be flying a Phantom for all I know. But what you should do is do camera tests at night to be able to show that DP what the image is gonna look like. Because sometimes, depending on the sensor size, depending on how open the lens is, you're gonna have some noise. And if you have that noise, what you're gonna wanna be able to do is be able to say, this is what it's gonna look like. Do you want this or not? Do we need to upgrade to a bigger camera? You know, do we need to light whatever the subject is more? Do we need to do this on a full moon night? There's many options, but it just really depends on what it is that you're doing and what you're trying to accomplish. So talking with the DP ahead of time and giving a clear expectation of what should be expected from the camera that you are bringing to that set will save you a lot of time, effort, and a heck of a headache if you get there and you're not able to provide the DP with the image quality they're looking for. All right, so we did our research, we got our permits, we're ready to shoot. It's the night of the shoot. How do we prepare? First thing I do is my sleep, because we're gonna be up all night, and you look at the weather. It's gonna be cold. It was gonna be really cold on the first night in LA. Why? But either way, it was really cold the first night. So we were ready for it. Our team was ready. We were all together. We went there, and fun times. Nothing ever goes as anybody planned it. So what ended up happening on this shoot is that they had to put one of the lights that was lighting the very first shot, that was our shot. The light was on this big crane, and the crane got stuck in the mud for 4 hours. Yes, this is a 10-hour shoot day, and the light, the main source of light, was stuck where it wasn't supposed to be for 4 hours. So obviously the first AD, the first assistant director, that person is the person who's in charge of the scheduling and the person who keeps everybody on their schedule throughout the day of the shoot. He wasn't having a good day. So we had to switch everything we were doing. Long story short, what ended up happening is we had to get that very first shot 4 hours later, but we had to stay outside in the cold on standby, waiting for them to be ready for us to do that for that full 4 hours. And what happened in that time is our lens got moisture on it. And yes, that does happen, especially overnight. You wake up and there's dew on the grass and things like that. We were lucky enough to catch it and say that like Wolfgang, the guy who I was flying with, looked at the lens before we started, but it was fully condensed over. We also did not have like much time to get the shot. So he just so happened to look at it, we wiped it off. That could have been horrible. Wiped it off, we flew up, we got the shot. And then we played the waiting game again. They went and shot their other scenes and all the other things they're doing for the movie. And we had one more major shot they wanted us to get. The AD comes over to us and says, we're probably not gonna be able to get the shot, but we have another shot that we want you to get that we think will work just fine. We're like, what is it? He's like, can't talk to you about it yet. Things are too busy. Just be ready, stay here. We'll get something for you guys. Another 3 hours go by. AD comes back and says, okay, we're ready for you. Here's what we want you to do. Walks us down into the middle of the set. It's like, hey, here's an actor. I'm like, what's up, Mr. Actor? It's like, what's up, bro? I want you to fly straight up through these trees right here, and I want you to just do a pull away shot with the actor underneath the camera. And I was like, all right, so we haven't talked about that yet because we had no shots that were even planned to look like this or do anything like this. A couple issues, Mr. Director and Mr. AD, is number one, can't have the drone directly over an actor. So we're gonna have to play it off. It's gonna have to be a 3/4 shot. Still can look like a direct shot overhead, still can look fine. We can make that happen. Second issue is, I have a flashlight, which you should always have, a really powerful flashlight, and I'm shotting it up to the spot we hadn't designed, we didn't look at to fly in before during the day because everything switched on the day of the shoot, and there isn't really a clear hole. There's only one hole that's just the size of the drone, barely the size of the drone that we can fly up through. Safety-wise, it's not worth it. We have a whole crew here, and now we have a blade, this blade-slinging drone, pretty much, that's flying up through there. It's not worth it for us to try to make this shot that was never a part of the original shot list. So it's the worst thing to do because you always want your client to be happy. You always want the directors, the producers, and everyone that hires you to be happy with your work. You always want to please them and give them what they want. But one thing you always have to be aware of, again, is safety. And I promise you, the last thing that they're gonna wanna have to deal with is a drone pilot that crashed the drone into one of their main talent. That may end not only this night's shoot, but many, many, many more. So we had to give it to him straight and say, look, man, that's not a possible shoot. We can't possible shot. That is not something we feel safe doing. We can't do that. And sometimes people take that well, sometimes they don't. In this instance, we got both. The director was just like, okay, cool, let's move on. Whereas the producer and the DP were like, well, why not? And so I had to sit and explain it with them and figure it out. And then we ended up coming out with an alternative shot that we just moved the entire set, 20 feet towards a safer area and just did the same shot there and just faked it, which is what you should be able to do with cameras and things like that. But all that to say is that just make sure that you are setting the expectation for safety and they know that's what you're here to do. That was the first night. Second night, which was the following night, we had another shoot, and this shoot was actually up the side of a mountain. And what we were doing was tracking a car up the side of the mountain. And there was actually a grouping of cars up the side of a mountain. Easy stuff, right? Because one side of the mountain that we were on was just a road, and the other side was just a lake. So we could fly out over this lake, and we had no real obstructions. Wolfgang and I went and did a scout 2 days before, because obviously we couldn't do it the day of. We were sleeping since we had stayed up all night the night before to do the other shoot. We had done a scout, and everything looked really, really good. We had permitted this entire section of the road, and we scouted it. They had even marked off the sections they wanted us to do. And then, of course, just like with every other drone shoot ever at night, for some reason, the night of, the director of photography and the director come up to us as soon as we get to set to let us know the locations that we had scouted is not where we're going to be shooting tonight. It's going to be other portions of this road that we have permitted. Now, that could be a problem, but it wasn't for us because Wolfgang and I knew that we had permitted this whole area. We had done our plan of activities and submitted it to the national park, because we were shooting at a national park a long time ago, and we had included a big space. So when we went on our scout, we went above and beyond and made sure that we looked at all of the roads that we possibly can shoot on. And we identified the different areas that we knew could be problems, because there were certain wires or certain trees, and there was random strings across the street that we figured out halfway through. Those strings were actually for like squirrels and things to be able to cross the road and not have to go on the actual road. But for a drone pilot at night, they're invisible, and it's literally a string that will take you down. So we had identified the spots where those were on a map for ourselves, and we knew that, but we also didn't really look at it that closely because it's like, this is the place we're not gonna shoot anyway. So we looked at it, cool, this is what this is, we know where general things are, but here we are at night having to shoot a space that we didn't shoot, that we didn't scout. But we're like, okay, we can make this work. We put out the big flashlights. We took a bunch of time. We took our time looking around and making sure we felt comfortable with everything. And we ended up doing the shots. We ended up doing a great job. But we had one little hiccup, which this is all for Wolfgang. I love that I hope he watches this video. So Wolfgang sacrificed himself. He almost fell down a mountain. I saved his life. Look at him. Dude, look at him. He grabbed a bush.
I literally almost fell.
He almost died.
He saved his life. The VO saved the PIC.
Why? Why?
You got the best shot. He got the greatest shot. This dude killed it, but this guy almost died, and we saved his life. It's great. Because what happened was, the first night I was the cam op, Wolfgang was the pilot, and Corey was the VO. And we typically switch up some of the roles throughout the different days to make sure everybody's experienced and able to be interchangeable. So on the second day, I was the visual observer, Wolfgang was still the pilot, and Corey ended up doing the camera operating. So my job as the VO is to make sure that I'm keeping an eye on the drone and making sure that it stays safe to the best of my ability and letting them know if there's any obstacles in the way. So I'm doing that, and I'm also, one other thing that I was doing was giving Wolfgang the best positions to fly from. Because I'm a pilot as well, I know the different shots they wanted us to do, you have to have a good vantage point when you're doing that, especially at night, especially when you haven't scouted it, to know exactly every single move of the drone and everywhere it's gonna be going. So I was making recommendations to Wolfgang of where he should stand. And so I was like, hey man, you can stand close to the street because the shot's gonna end before you get here. We have the street blocked off with police officers, you can do that. You can stand here, I'll watch your back and I'll watch the drone. He was like, cool man, no problem. Now, on the side of the street, there's like a cliff. And that cliff you can walk down into, and there's like some brush and stuff like that, but then there's like a sheer drop off, like 100-foot drop, like into this lake reservoir thing that will destroy you if you fall down there. And Wolfgang, while he was getting the shot, I was like, yeah man, this is a good spot. He just kept inching towards that drop off, went down into the bushes, and I'm like, okay man, that's far enough, bro, like you're good. Don't go any further. I remember this area. You're really close to this drop off. He was like, Brennan, I'm good, bro. I got it. Don't worry about me. I was like, all right, man, I'm just letting you know there's a drop off right next to you. I'm watching the drone for you. I'm watching you. I'm just letting you know there's a drop off. He's like, no problem, man. I got it. Last shot of the night. He goes down into this ravine. Gets the shot. We're like, cool, man. Drone's still in the air. And he's like, all right, I'm going to come back up. He turns towards me and takes his first step up. Foot slips, starts to fall. I'm like, give me your hand. Like, reach out. Give me your hand. He grab his hand and then pull him out. And he's just like, oh, thanks, man. I'm so happy you were there. I'm like, yeah, man, VO of the year. Jesus, dude. Like, he almost fell into there. Now, that doesn't really doesn't feel like real drone advice, to be honest, because it's like, dude, don't go into a ravine in the middle of the night when you can't see it, and you also you have your hands here, and you have like the whole harness with the pilot thing. Either way, I just wanted to tell that story because Wolfgang is hilarious, and he almost died, and I got the VO Award of the Year, which I awarded myself because I made up that whole entire thing. Made up the award, I didn't make up the whole story. Either way, that happened, and that is I would say the only thing I can say to that is it's a cautionary tale to the wise. It's just, as a VO, man, just keep an eye on your pilot, man. Make sure you warn him about everything. And if you can be close to him and still be able to get a good vantage point, then keep everything safe and stay close to him because you might be able to save his life, who knows? So one thing, while you're flying and you're piloting a drone, especially at night, it's very easy to get discombobulated because you're looking up, you're watching the lights on the drone, because we obviously have to attach specific lights to the drone to fly at night. You're watching the lights of the drone and you're not really aware of where you are or where you're stepping. So it can be really dangerous. Just be aware of your surroundings. Make sure your VO is also being aware of your surroundings as well as the drone surroundings. And also, you know, if you fly with your thumbs, Wolfgang, you probably have a better chance of being more combobulated, because Wolfgang does the pinch flying, and you know that's not really how professionals do it. Now, is it, Wolfgang? He somehow manages. I don't know how he does that, but either way, I'm sure if he would have been using his thumbs, he would have been a lot safer. Droners, thank you so much for stopping in, and if you want to see more Droner Dialogue where I talk about the stories and things that I get to do, bam, you can check it out. Or if you want to see the coolest intro video that's ever happened for a drone channel, we got it, and it's right here. Otherwise, make sure that you go ahead and hit that subscribe button so you can see everything that I'm posting, and as always, stay fly.